We spend more than we make, and that is a problem. So any of my videos, you know that I have a spending plan called the Rule of 10, 10, 20. In the Rule of 10, 10, 20, uh, basically it goes that we give 10% away. And you can watch one of my videos to show what do we do with that 10% that we're supposed to give away. Also, you have 10% that you keep to yourself, and that keeping to yourself, most of the plans I see, the 10% they say keep to yourself is money that is invested. However, I found a scripture in Genesis where Joseph is talking to Pharaoh, and he gives them actually some good savings or investing advice. Then we go to Ecclesiastes, and Ecclesiastes really talks about diversifying. So you have the rule of 10, 10, 10, and 10, the rule of 10, 10, 20. 10% you give away, 10% you keep to yourself, 20% is for savings slash investing. Then that means that our expenses should never exceed 60% of what we're making. So most of what we see in our communities are people who are overspending, or they're living probably on, well, let me say it that way. They're living off the credit cards, not wisely. There's a whole thing with that. But they're spending more than they're making. And so it becomes a problem. So what we have to do is figure out, what are, so what's then the question becomes, what's the answer? Like, how do we handle living beneath our means? That's the key. So a lot of people, like, I'm be honest with you, I just like all the money, and I get it. I'm not telling you what I heard, I'm telling you what I've experienced. Like all of the money that I make, I really need to spend all of that on these expenses. So, like, what do we do from that? And so we'll get to that at the end of the video. But I do want to give us some encouragement about what we bring home, how much of that money should actually be towards the expenses that we have. And so based on this rule of 10, 10, 20, that leaves you with 60% that's left. So in my estimation, based on the spending plan, if your bills exceed 60%, and I'm actually giving you a lot of room. If I think I forgot who I heard, one of the entertainers said that most millionaires live off of 50% of their income. And it may be lower than that, but 50% is what it's what I heard. So 60% is a lot for our expenses. So how do you know? So let's say these are my expenses, and these expenses are, I don't really have any place to cut. So a lot of things I would tell you is, number one, when you're looking at your expenses or you're trying to figure out where the money is, find places to cut. You know what I'm saying? Things that you really don't need. Like, do you really need to upgrade your phone every 2 years? You feel what I'm saying? Like, that money could be used. Can you lower your, like, do you need all of the streaming devices? That's an area that you can deal with. Really go through your finances and just kind of look at the finances and figure out, do a financial analysis. So really go through your finance and look at figure out where you can minimize your expenses. Now, if you need to, you can send me an email at hwhhfinances@gmail.com, hwhhfinances@gmail.com, and I can send you a free PDF that kind of gives you the breakdown on the expenses. And then that way you can look at your expenses and realize or pay attention to what areas that you need to eliminate. I have three areas, like there's a black area, a blue area, and a red area. And anything in the red area, we either want to cut in half or we want to eliminate totally. So if that's you, you're trying to figure out, well, I don't know where to cut, send me an email at hwhhfinances@gmail.com, and I'll send you a free PDF. But we definitely want to take a look at, figure out, what are the expenses that we're having? What are some things that we can cut? Where are some places that we can really cut down on to help have more money to invest into whatever you decide to invest in. So let's say you can't, like, you're looking at your expenses and you're saying to yourself, I can't cut anything down. Like, this is like everything I'm spending, I need to spend it, and this is what I got. But I don't know how much money I need to be making. Like, I want to make like whatever. But there's an amount that you would need to be making in order for those bills that you say you can't cut out to fit within that 60% range or 60% portion of your finances. So one of the ways you can do that to find out how much money you really need to be making, if you can't eliminate any of the expenses, then this formula will help you determine how much you should be making. When I say making, I mean bringing home. I don't mean gross. I mean net. So your paycheck should look like this on a monthly basis. So what you can do is you can take your expenses, then you divide it by 60%, and that'll tell you how much money you should be bringing home. So if you take $1,500, let's say in this example, $1,500 is your expenses. You went through your whole list and you looked at all of your expenses. Now I'm not talking about fast foods, and I'm not talking about, you know, buying shoes and things of that nature. Those are luxuries, actually, as a matter of fact. So I'm talking about things that you have to pay for every month. You have to pay for gas. You have to pay for groceries. You have to pay for your mortgage. You have to pay your light bill. Like these things that fit in that area, those are the real expenses that I'm talking about. So you go through that. You figure out as you go through your budget. You go through your account, your past 3 months. You figure out how much money you've been spending. When you go through that and you figure out, okay, this is how much my expenses are. So if your expenses are $1,500 a month, you divide that by 60%, and that should equal how much you should bring home on a regular basis in order for you to live properly in the rule of 10, 10, 20. So 1,500 divided by 60% equals $2,500, and that becomes how much your net take home should be at the end of the month. So once you get that number, you look at how much you're making, and you say, well, I'm not making that amount of money. Like I'm making right at $1,500, and if $2,500 is what I'm supposed to be doing, okay, what do I do at that point? So this is where you have to, and let's say you can't. We're gonna go with the same scenarios that we can't. Like I can't deduct anything. So that means you have to make more money. So you have to find a way legally to actually bring in extra income, and there are many ways to do that. And I know people, we say it, but it's really true. You can Uber Eats. Okay, well, I don't have a car. Okay, then there are remote jobs you can apply for. You know what I'm saying? Okay, well, I don't have whatever's properly you should have to be able to do remote. Okay, well, then you can do overtime at your job. And so all these things you have to find a way to make extra income. And then that extra income is not like, don't look at it as a way for me to be frivolous without, like, you're going to have to be very intentional. You're going to have to be very disciplined with this, because the goal is to build wealth. The goal is to build a substantial amount of income set aside for rainy days. Okay. So let's get to the point where we cut all the mess out. We really hone in and we really think about our future. And people say, well, what if I don't live? Well, what if you do live to be that long? And so up until now, if we have not done the things that we needed to do to secure our future, our financial future, then let's go about getting that done, so that not only us, but our children, and as the scriptures tell us, our children's children can be okay. All right. I hope that helped you out. Take care. God bless. Salute.